Good afternoon, everyone. Today here with a new discussion. This is with Bhargav Reddy and Rageshri from APAC Assistance and myself, Prateek. So we recently witnessed the results of the India's general election being declared, and there have been some notable trends and some surprises in the election results. And we are here to discuss the implications, the short term and the long term. So just to quickly get started, the election results were declared on the 4th of June, a day before we had exit polls uh, showing increasing domination of BJP in the elections, but the actual results suggested other trends. So just to start us off, Bhargav, I just wanted to know what are the key numbers looking like and where do all the parties stand?
Right. Pratik, thank you for that. Now, we need to understand the system a little before I get into the numbers and before Raga comes in with the key takeaways from this election. So, the system in itself is based on parliamentary democracy. It is a representative democracy. And in the general elections, people directly elect the members of parliament for the lower house, which is called Lok Sabha. The upper house is like a Senate representative of the states. So in the lower house, in total, there are 543 elected members. Two members are nominated by the president, whereas to form a government, any party will need to win 272 seats in the lower house. In the recent elections, BJP won 240, um, and they needed at least 272 to form the government. Unlike the last time, they had 303 in their favor. They had the brute majority to form the government on their own. So this time around, they will need the help of their alliance, the National Democratic Alliance (NDA). With their alliance, they have 292, so they are comfortable in terms of numbers to form the government. We will get into the coalition nitty-gritties a little later. Now, there are key alliance partners this time around. That is Telugu Desam Party from the state of Andhra Pradesh and Janata Dal United, mainly from Bihar. TDP has 16, while JDU has 12. So these two parties will have emerged as kingmakers. When we speak of opposition, Indian National Congress has 99, and their alliance with other smaller parties like Trinamool Congress and DMK from Tamil Nadu, they have about 202, with a few other independents also have won this time around in the elections. Pratik, can we move on to the key takeaways from the elections?
Yeah, sure. So, given the elections were a bit of a surprise for anybody who was watching it, um, Raga, could you please tell us a little bit about the reasons for losses to the BJP, which were slightly unexpected, and the role of the regional parties this time?
You're right, Pratik. It was an election that is a little on the unprecedented side of things because exit polls indicated that it's going to be an overwhelming majority for the BJP this time around. And there were a lot of talks of BJP alone winning about 350 plus or 400 plus seats. And that is definitely not what happened. So some of the reasons why this unfolded were that they've lost the support of key constituencies and the very hyped inauguration of the Ram Temple, which is quite controversial and pushed by the Hindutva agenda. It failed to impress voters, including Hindus. So this particular blow to the BJP resonated quite a bit because if you look at Uttar Pradesh at large, that was one of the states which the BJP had high hopes on, and that was one of the states which went the other route with SP, Samajwadi Party. So that was a big disappointment for the BJP because it has a whopping chunk in terms of seat share in the parliament. The other reasons can be attributed to the fact that Modi has a fairly cult style of governance, and perhaps there is more of a leaning towards a collective style of governance, which India has seen for a long time. And there are issues that people highlight, which is a difference between the high command, which sits out of Delhi, versus the regional issues, which they may be out of touch with. And some of the issues that we are actually talking about are unemployment, inflation, which really resonates more with voters rather than religious and nationalist issues. And unemployment is a huge rate at this point of time. It's about 8% on an average across the country, and inflation as well, costs have skyrocketed. So, in a country like this, these are the issues that resonated a lot more with voters, and you've seen the opposition coming in full throttle with a lot of promises for cash being deposited to their accounts, a lot of benefits in terms of welfare schemes. So this could have, hinged the battle between the two. The other thing I want to mention is that a lot of regional forces and regional parties gained a lot of traction, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, where you see a dominance and a resurgence of that regional sentiments coming back, because these states have voted for parties that are more aligned towards the state interests and rather than the central parties. So this is where the BJP has suffered significant losses. And perhaps the strategy, which was focused a lot on religious sentiments, did not resonate, especially in some of the regional sentiment states, where in the south, you see in Tamil Nadu, all, if not almost all the seats were taken by the DMK. So it shows a lot of failure to resonate with the local voters there. Yeah, so these are some of the main reasons.
Thanks for that detailed insight, Raka. So just going forward, understanding the importance of the regional parties this time, especially the two, that is the Telugu Desam Party as well as the, JDU. They are going to play kingmakers, uh, and I think they're being quoted on both sides this time to form the government. Everything remains in a state of flux, although they've kind of pledged their allegiance to NDA, led by the BJP. But there are going to be negotiations, and there's going to be, demands and expectations from these parties. Although they hold a very small number of seats, it's very crucial for BJP. Bhargav, can you give us a little insight about the negotiations underway and what we can expect in the coming days?
Certainly. So, unlike the last two terms, BJP does not dominate the political spectrum, especially on the right. Now they will have to heed to their alliance partners, especially JDU and TDP. That also reflects upon the status of stability within the government once it is sworn in. It is likely to be sworn in on Saturday this week. So JDU, especially, that is Janata Dal United, led by Nitish Kumar, who is also the Chief Minister of Bihar, has a track record of flip-flopping between the two alliances, that is NDA, led by BJP, and an alliance led by Indian National Congress at the state level. Now, he has done this at least half a dozen times in the last 10 years or so. So we cannot rule out a similar situation at the center as well. However, JDU is a small party. They are getting an opportunity to be part of the power corridors in Delhi after nearly 20 years or so. And it is unlikely that he will miss this opportunity to dictate terms to BJP nonetheless. So we need to note that Nitish Kumar was also Minister of Railways under the previous government in 2000, from 2001 to 2004. This was under the Prime Ministership of Vajpayee. Now, this is likely to have an impact on the demands he's going to make to the BJP, led by Modi. Modi's arrogance may be broken this time around. His larger than life, too big to fail kind of image may have broken with the revival of the regional parties, especially TDP. Now, in terms of negotiation, TDP especially is likely to ask for greater allocation of funds to Andhra. Chandrababu Naidu, who is likely to be the chief minister, has a track record of leading from the front in terms of developmental efforts. A lot of development in and around Hyderabad is credited to him in early part of 2000s and late 1990s, and we can expect a similar trend even in Andhra Pradesh. Now, included in the negotiation tactics would be the allocation of central ministries. So JDU and TDP are likely to demand substantial number of cabinet seats. BJP had a knack of bringing in technocrats such as Foreign Minister Jaishankar, who was former diplomat, Harshdeep Singh Puri, also a former diplomat, into key ministries like the Foreign Ministry and the Oil Ministry. Such interesting tactics may not really work this time around, as both JDU and TDP may demand such crucial ministries to be allocated to their members. So with that, Pratik, maybe if we can go further to policy issues.
Sure. So, I mean, it's an interesting point that you make, that technocrats may no longer be a part of the, may no longer be the strategy to allocate ministries. That brings me to policy and reform issues. We've had, BJP that last time had majority by itself and did not rely on alliance partners, which was able to push some very serious reforms and take very, drastic actions like the demonetization and other moves. So this time around, I'm guessing, given that we're back in the coalition era, it will have an impact on policy reforms, policy and reform that were planned for the upcoming term, which were repeatedly highlighted during the election campaign, be it UCC, Uniform Civil Code, or the Citizenship Amendment Act, especially the implementation of it. So, Raga, I just want to quickly get your idea on this. What do you think the term looks like, and what do you think this means for policy in the future?
That's a good question, Pratik. Now the BJP has to rely on its coalition partners for the first time, and this can certainly complicate the implementation of economic policies. And coalition dynamics do lead to compromise and delays in decision making. And in a country like India, it certainly tends to be chaotic, where smaller voices, bigger voices will have an equal say, because even a party with about 20, 30 odd seats could be the kingmaker in a situation like this, and they do have a disproportionate weightage in the decision-making process. So if it comes to radical reforms in a country like India, which is quite still on the socialist side of things, it is quite difficult to implement, even with a whopping majority. But it's all the more difficult today because there will be some conservative approaches now that the coalition parties are associated with the BJP as well. So decisions that are made by the BJP will have to be agreed upon. So largely, we're going to see that return to the slow decision-making process. And while the election results have probably dented the BJP's momentum, there will be more of a focus on economic governance this time around, knowing that the Hindu nationalism related approaches have not exactly paid in terms of dividends, especially with Uttar Pradesh and the Ram Mandir inauguration. I would foresee that the BJP will focus a lot more on economic governance, stability, infrastructure, where it would focus a lot more on development. And some of these losses that we are seeing in Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan could be due to perceived overreach by the Modi government, and it can also affect economic policies at that state level. So we're probably going to see preferential treatment, so to speak, for some of the states which have been, which have provided the BJP unexpected returns, and they have been ignored in terms of the development front for a long time. we're probably going to see the special status like you guys discussed. So, in terms of policy, there's going to be a lot of different mixed approaches that we're going to see, but largely delays in decision making can be expected.
Thank you for those insights, Raga. So you mentioned a very interesting point regarding the infrastructure push. So, in my observations over the past few years, I've noted that BJP has laid special focus on improving the ease of doing business, and I think the infrastructure development ties into that. And we're also looking at, the political leadership trying to bring in a lot of investments from abroad. So, just as an extension of this, I wanted to know both of your opinions on this. What does this mean for business in the coming years? Given that this coalition lasts a full term, what can we expect in terms of the business environment?
Okay,
Well,
so
Yeah,
the
go ahead, Bhargav.
overall investor atmosphere may be affected to some extent now that BJP doesn't really have a brute majority and they can't really quite project a, a scenario where they're in complete control of the economy and the government, especially with the coalition partners asking for their pound of flesh. At the same time, we need to underline that the economy is on a very vibrant footing, though the stock market may have taken a hit. But at the same time, businesses are unlikely to experience a major shift towards a negative side, despite the coalition government in the central government. Because we need to also note that the businesses primarily interact with the state governments, especially in the manufacturing and mining sector, while their interaction with the central government is limited to policy issues and some of the specific industries such as telecom. Now, having said that, it is also important to note for businesses it is not always prudent to write off a certain business environment or a country based on superficial analysis, especially coming from the liberal media in the West, which were way too quick to write off Indian government, especially led by Modi, as one of those banana republics or autocratic dictatorships like in the Middle East or Russia or even Myanmar for that matter. It basically shows how little understanding they had as far as the democratic setup as well as the constitutional foundations in India and how they are protected using constitutional agencies such as Election Commission, which showed in the recent election that they are quite strong. They can implement an impartial, supposedly impartial election to a greater extent. And it also speaks for the for the ethos, the democratic ethos in to the core of the governance as well as the constitutional setup within the country, which can be compared with any major Western democracy to a greater extent. That's how I would look at it. Raga, would you like to comment on that?
Well, just in terms of business, as long as and assuming that the BJP coalition continues, we are going to see a continuation of the existing environment. There is going to be pro-business friendly policies. We will see, the growth of certain industries and the businessmen that we've seen that have prospered. We will see an extension of that. There'll be a lot of welfareist schemes as well, which the BJP will focus on, and with reference to some of the farmer issues and agriculture related issues. That is one of the sectors the BJP will likely try and compromise on, considering the last time around that was a major issue and they feel to resonate with the voters in Punjab. So in terms of policy continuity, I think it's not going to change too much. And in fact, some of the things have paid dividends, especially in terms of the GDP. The latest data shows that India hit about 8.2% in the previous quarter, and that positions India as the world's fastest growing major economy. So the momentum is expected to continue and probably moderate to an extent over the coming quarters, but India will remain a global outperformer.
Thank you for that insight, Raga and Bhargav. I think there have been some very interesting insights in this entire discussion. But as we know, the things remain in flux, and we can't say with certainty how the short term will play out, especially with the negotiation between the coalition government. So, looking forward to what's coming up. I want to thank you both for your insights, and also thanks all the listeners for tuning in.